Final block of racing about to get underway here in Louisville, Kentucky for the 2023 USA Cyclocross National Championships as we return with coverage here on FloBikes for the Elite Championships. Elite women followed by Elite men. Brad Soner here with Ellen Noble as we get ready for our last two races of the day. Ellen, what have we learned from watching the U23s earlier today that we're going to apply to the Elite racing today?
Well, we learned that I'm pretty excited to be watching this race. The course is a lot smoother, a lot drier than we were anticipating after the precipitation yesterday, but really fast and a lot of room for moving up.
Insane rains moving through the area yesterday, but it has been perfectly dry today, and really a lot of this course drying out. They just had the U10s out there on course, but they ran a shorter, separate course, so a lot of this course will have been untouched for a couple hours now with no pre-riding beforehand, so it'll be really interesting to see what those course conditions are like. As our pro women are getting lined up on the grid, let's talk about some of the favorites coming into this one. I think you have to look at the defending champion, Clara Honsinger here.
Yeah, you cannot count out a rider like Clara Honsinger. She does so well under pressure, multi-time elite national champion, and then of course the dynamic duo of the Steve Tilford Racing Foundation, Raylan Nuss and Katie Klaus in her first elite national appearance.
There's no question that Honsinger is going to have a big old bullseye on her back, but this is really a wide open field. I mean, it's been a while since we've had a women's elite race like this that was so tight and so close with 3 or 4 contenders that really have a shot at being at the front at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to talk to you in 50 minutes from now and see who comes out on top.
Well, those riders getting into the grid right now. Of course, they have the call to post being played here in Louisville. A little nod to Churchill Downs and the Kentucky Derby here. A little bit of heritage in sport here in Louisville, Kentucky. Looks like just about everybody in the grid right now. As those riders get their final instructions, we'll let you know once they go inside 30 seconds for the random start on the grid. And as we've learned today, this start is incredibly important. You're not going to win the race here, but certainly a place that you can lose it. If you find yourself missing a pedal, a bad start, just can't get going, you could very easily push yourself outside of the top 10 early on here.
Yeah, the biggest thing to avoid at this point, Brad, would be a crash or a mechanical. I think a mechanical would really end your day, but if you had a crash at the start or just a mix-up with another rider, you are going to have your work cut out for you.
27 riders on our Elite Women's start list. Front row, starting with Clara Honsinger. We talked about Raylan Nuss and Katie Klaus from the Steve Tilford Foundation Racing Team. Then comes Jen Malik lining up 4th today with Amelia Shea taking the 5th spot to line up. Natalie Quinn after that, followed by Allison Crow, Brenna Rice-Simpson, Clementine Nixon, and Anna Dorskevich getting the 10th call of choice of where they want to slot into the grid here. Pretty cool to see Clara Honsinger back in a Team S&M kit, sort of back to her roots here after her EF campaign last year, winning in pink, back in the orange and blue, Team S&M CX.
Yeah, she said it felt like a little bit of a homecoming for her to be back with this team, and I think a lot of good vibes on that program, especially racing with Brenna Rice-Simpson, and they have the green light, and our Elite Women's race is officially underway.
Honsinger in the orange jersey to the left here, moving right up the middle, although it looks like, wow, look at Raylan Nuss.
I think that's going to be Katie Klaus.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, she is off to a blistering start. I mean, Brad, it is rare to see a gap that big on the start straight.
Look at Klaus still out of the saddle here. And Katie Klaus putting a lot of riders on notice early for the Steve Tilford Foundation Racing Team. But I guess this is what you got to do to take it to Clara Honsinger.
100%. I think they're trying to put pressure onto Clara Honsinger early on, especially knowing that she's not known for fast starts. She's definitely a fast finisher, not always known for being a fast starter. Looks like only one rider was able to go with her. We're going to have to wait and see who that is. I think I see another yellow bike trying to bridge across. I'm going to assume that that's her teammate, Raylan Nuss, but at the moment, only one rider able to make contact with Katie Klaus.
Now the question is, can Katie Klaus do this for 50 minutes? Probably not. She'll have to lay off a little bit here, but if you can establish that gap early and get someone on the wrong side of the split, that's all you need. So I think that's Honsinger into 4th position now in the orange and blue. She is on the back foot early on here, and this is exactly what the Steve Tilford Foundation Racing Team wants. So Klaus and Nuss are going to be able to really put the hurt on Clara Honsinger if they can work together to work her over today.
Yeah, and I think that's a little bit of the plan for them. So let's see who this rider is currently in second. Looks like Raylan Nuss about to make the pass. She's going to try to bridge up to her teammate, Katie Klaus, and if those two are able to work together, that is going to be very bad news for Clara Honsinger.
I think that's Jen Malik back there in the purple and black. We'll get confirmation as they roll through, but right now you're watching Katie Klaus rolling away on the front. That is Raylan Nuss at the bottom of your screen, and then defending champ Clara Honsinger moving into third as already the separation has happened. This is make or break right now for Steve Tilford Foundation Racing Team. Is it too early to start talking about team tactics here for these riders?
No, definitely not, and having spent a lot of time with Raylan Nuss over the last month or so, I know that this is exactly what they were planning on doing. So not too early, and it's absolutely relevant for these riders to be putting some team tactics into play. Now,
when we talk about team tactics, would that be a scenario where someone like Raylan Nuss would maybe let off the gas a little bit to let Katie Klaus get more space? If Nuss has defending champ Clara Honsinger behind her, how does a cyclocross teammate work together?
Yeah, I mean, it's so dependent. There are some teammates who won't work together at all. Maybe they just won't work against one another. But in this scenario, I know that these two are trying to put the hurt onto Clara Honsinger, so they will be benefiting from that teammate perspective. There's a chance that Raylan could try to late break and kind of let up a little early, but it looks like if she does that, Clara Honsinger is just going to go right by her like she is now. So I think more of what they're hoping is just to kind of trade blows and really put Clara Honsinger on the ropes.
Yeah, see what they're doing right now is forcing Honsinger to close this gap, and Honsinger is going to bring Raylan Nuss with her, and then guarantee you as soon as they close that gap, someone else goes. You just keep hitting her over and over and over.
Speaking of teammates, though, Brenna Rye-Simpson, Team S&M mechanic as well as athlete, which is super cool. She's actually bridging up to the front of this race. So what if we saw a 2-on-2?
Clara Honsinger's like, I got a teammate too.
Yeah. She's like, all right, we can play ball.
You see Rye-Simpson just at the top of the screen right there. Now Honsinger getting a little gap over Raylan Nuss here on her way up to Katie Klaus. Worst case scenario now is that Honsinger catches Klaus, goes right by her, and then the Steve Tilford Foundation Racing Team is on defense for the next 47 minutes.
Yes, yeah, that would be really tough, but at least they would be able to work together in that scenario. Still pretty breezy out, not as windy as it was earlier today and yesterday, but there's still some advantage to drafting to be had out there.
I'm really amazed at how well this course has dried up over the last couple days. We've been talking a lot about the conditions, but you're just not seeing a lot of soupy mud. It's really not kicking up much. So I think the word to describe this course has really been pretty fast, all things considered.
Yep, I think there are some wet spots, some slippery spots, but altogether the course is running pretty quick.
All right, first time coming to these limestone stairs. These have been a great tell of how the race is going to go for a lot of these riders. So we'll watch Klaus take it first. She's going to ride it up the right side. Can Honsinger respond? She'll do it as well.
Not making quite as easy work as Katie Klaus. So that was a really, really impressive from Klaus. Oh, and a mistake from Nuss.
Nuss can get over the first step. Had to dismount.
That's going to give Brenna Rye-Simpson and Natalie Quinn a chance to catch up to her. This is, I believe, Natalie Quinn's first race in the elite ranks, coming from Boulder Junior Cycling to Meta, now racing for Fort Lewis College.
You can see how quickly this one has spread out. Just 5.5 minutes into the racing, and already gaps all over the place. Honsinger on her way up to Katie Klaus. She is about to make contact here. And Klaus is going to find herself locked into a solo battle with Honsinger is moving way quicker than Katie Klaus right here.
Yeah, she's doing what Honsinger does best, which is just putting the power down. Oh, my God. What a pass.
Brutal. Honsinger is toying with Katie Klaus right now.
You know, they really have put the pressure on her, especially Klaus has put the pressure on her. I have never seen Clara Honsinger take command of a race quite this aggressively, quite this quickly.
Katie Klaus has got more to offer, though. I don't think Honsinger should write her off just yet.
I agree. You know, and this could be part of the strategy. Klaus could have gone out a little early. She's a really, really, really good starter, as we saw today. You know, go out early, put some pressure on Honsinger, relax a little bit, and then just sit on her wheel.
Meanwhile, look behind them.
Wow.
Gap huge back to Rayla Nuss and then Natalie Quinn.
Yeah, so obviously Clara Honsinger, the strongest on these long, hard pedaling sections, but Katie Klaus is riding these technical sections so well. She rode those stairs so quickly. She did that ride up really, really fast and was able to close a bike length or two gap back to Honsinger. So I think that we have, like we saw in the U23 men's race, a pretty good match where each rider has their strengths. It's just really a matter of if Katie Klaus is going to be able to go pedal stroke for pedal stroke with Honsinger on this long pedaling section.
Ooh. Klaus taking an inside line. She looks like she might be looking for opportunities to pass. But like she has the momentum here, and it looks like she's choosing not to go around Honsinger.
Yeah, I wonder if she's hoping to be able to slow Honsinger down just a little bit, but Clara is so savvy. She's a very, very talented cyclocross racer, of course, but she's also so experienced on the road. She's going to know something is up the moment Katie Klaus tries to set up in front of her.
It's amazing how a season of planning can go out the window for the Steve Tilford Foundation racing team, who is hoping to use their strength and numbers against Honsinger today, but Honsinger was able to isolate Katie Klaus very quickly after Klaus went out early, and Honsinger got rid of Raylan Nuss pretty early on. But still plenty of racing to go, about 40 minutes left on the race clock, so plenty of time for Nuss to come back if these two start playing games up at the front.
Yeah, and Nuss is such a consistent rider. She's so strong, and she's been doing a lot of training recently, so not going to say that it's impossible for her to bring them back as the race goes on, but this gap does continue to go out at the close of lap 1.
Klaus just following the lines here. It seems like Klaus is setting up in a lot of these corners. She'll come out shallow and sort of leave that lane open. Is that just good tradecraft to always make sure that you've got a line or you've got an out? It's almost like she's thinking about passing, but then she doesn't follow through with the effort.
I actually haven't noticed that, Brad. That's a really good observation.
Like when they come out of these corners, instead of staying right on the wheel, she'll move off to the side as if she's giving herself a line to go past.
Oh, yeah.
But then won't accelerate. Maybe looking for weakness, looking for a little dab or a foot down or something so that when that happens, she knows that she's got a hole. Yeah,
that way she wouldn't get caught up if there was a crash from Honsinger. I also think Katie's just she's so experienced. We talked about this earlier with a rider like Lizzie Gonzalez. Katie Klaus has won so many national titles. I think she's a little bit of a Lebecki in that way. With, yeah, probably more national titles than we can count. And so I think she's just a really, really great technical rider. So there's a possibility that she's more comfortable taking those different lines, but doesn't want to lead the race just yet.
They are going to be just out of sight for Raylan Nuss onto the pavement here. And we'll take a look at 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th a little farther back as they come through the line.
So 17 seconds now separates Raylan Nuss to the leading duo of Claire Honsinger and her teammate, Katie Klaus. 17 seconds is a big gap, but there's still about 40 minutes of racing left, so a lot can happen, but with these two, Raylan Nuss is going to be hard-pressed to be able to bring back Clara Honsinger and Katie Klaus at this point.
Ooh, Honsinger stepping on the gas. A couple big accelerations out of the corners here, testing Katie Klaus a little bit. And I think it's clear now Klaus is just sitting on. She's not really interested in coming around. She could have done it easily on the pavement if she wanted to try and outsprint Honsinger to get to the front.
Absolutely.
Oh!
Oh, no. Okay, she had a mistake on the stairs, but she was back up super quickly.
Man, that could have been painful.
Yeah. Sure it was. It's cold out. Your skin is dry. No protection on your knees.
Honsinger hitting it. She senses the weakness behind her. She knows exactly what happened. Didn't even look back, but that's one you can hear. I mean, you can hear when a rider goes down like that. You hear that off in the distance and realize that you got a gap. Honsinger's going to take advantage of it. Now this is more time that Klaus has lost. She had trouble getting back underway here, I think. Watch the form on the steps as Hansinger makes it up. Meanwhile, here is Raylan Nuss back behind.
Looks like the bikes are staying really clean at this point, so no need for Hansinger to go into the pit. That's a big change, even from our U23 men's race, where so much mud was collecting on the frames, almost like cement. Now Clara Hansinger's bike still looks brand new.
Klaus is going to have to close this gap soon. If Clara Hansinger gets some daylight in front of her, this could be very different. You also have to remember this style of racing is going to be a little different for Clara Hansinger. We talked about this earlier, the big fish, small pond versus small fish in a big pond type thing. Racing in Europe in a top 10 or top 15 performance is a lot different than riding at the front of your national championships.
Yes. Yeah, especially if you're used to having people around you to motivate you or to pace you. You have to really just go to the front and do a time trial here for Clara Hansinger. But she's so strong and she's so steady that I think that this effort actually really suits a rider like Clara. It's not over for Katie Klaus, and you can see the effort just in the way that her helmet is bobbling. This is a pivotal moment for Klaus because she has Clara still in her sights. She does not want to give her any more distance than she already has. Little look to the right from Hansinger and back on the pedals.
Klaus has still got her in sight. And again, Katie Klaus super strong. I think she can rely on, her watts and just count on the strength to do a lot of work here.
They're also coming into a section that Katie was very, very dominant on last time. So if she's able to ride the steps as smoothly as she did last time, that could start to bring this race back together.
In cyclocross, we've been measuring the gaps in mistakes, and this is a 3 or 4 mistake gap right now. So Hansinger back to Klaus. All right, let's see if the stairs go any better this time. Hansinger clears it. Remember, Klaus had trouble on that last set of stairs, but it was really, I think, just her feet slipping out when she stepped on the stairs, it looked like. They make it up and over safely.
Oh, this race is still very close for these lead two, but now Katie Klaus will be long out of sight before third place Raylan Nuss makes it into view.
Raylan Nuss 6 seconds ahead of Amelia Shea in fourth as they went through the line. How does a rider like Nuss right now balance these two wars that she's fighting on two different fronts? Because she's got to worry about trying to chase these leaders, but I have to imagine she's also pretty worried about giving up third place here.
Yeah, I think at this point, Raylan is still very focused on cautiously. These other two riders back. If Amelia Shea were to make contact, I think that would be a different story. But Raylan is so experienced, and she's only going to get better as the race goes on. So I think right now she's still very much focused forward. As the race becomes more solidified, that's when you start to worry a little bit more about preserving the spot that you're in.
Hansinger's got open road ahead of her, obviously can choose her line. Klaus has got enough space to choose her line as well. I'm watching the lines that they take up, these steep sections, that inside line favored here. You see a deep rut on the left side there that a lot of riders have been taking, but both of them took that sort of alternate line. They make it through. Now watching Nuss running this section.
Klaus seems like she's making up a little bit of time on Hansinger on that technical bit.
Slowly but surely closing the gap. About 16 and a half minutes in to the scheduled 50-minute race. Honsinger takes the gap back out. See if anyone pits this time through. Going to skip that one for Honsinger. Klaus is going to go. Missed the exchange, but don't think it could have been too bad because she's back up and rolling quickly. Oh man, that cost her a few seconds though. More than a few. Now let's see when or if Honsinger pits today. She hasn't gone in yet, but you got to think at some point she'll want to get a clean bike here.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering, the bikes look so clean, at least so far. I'm wondering if Katie Klaus maybe adjusted her tire pressure or her tread or something like that, and that's what forced her into the pit.
But just like that, Klaus starting to claw back some of that time.
Klaus now able to choose her own lines, which is a departure from how they went through this section last time, where it was clear that Klaus was going a bit faster through these corners than Clara, so she may be able to make up a little bit of an advantage here, but we are headed into a section through the start-finish for a lot of uninterrupted pedaling, which will absolutely favor Clara Honsinger.
And this gap coming back again. Katie Klaus doing a great job recovering from these gaps that have been forming all day. So
wow, this is a remarkable recovery from Katie Klaus.
You can see the effort that she's putting in here. Those few pedal strokes out of the saddle that Honsinger's not taking. And now we'll watch the gap onto the pavement. Yeah, see, Honsinger knows she can make up time here. Big effort, big acceleration as they come onto the pavement here. Klaus has just got to stay calm. That's the key here. We'll go back and look at 3, 4, 5, and 6 here. Keep an eye on Raylan Nuss as she has been stuck out there. And here's Nuss onto the pavement. They took 10 seconds off of their lap time for the leaders. Honsinger and Klaus did a 9:47 the first lap. They just did a 9:37 that time through. Raylan Nuss, though, did a 10:05 and a 9:53. So that group of two moving significantly faster here than Raylan Nuss. She's going to have to pick up this tempo if she wants to get up there. Otherwise, she's going to be losing almost 15 seconds per lap.
Yeah, now we have Natalie Quinn currently sitting in 4th, and she's at 58 seconds down, and just behind her, nipping at her heels, Amelia Shea, coming through at 1:02 down. But Brad, the gap from Katie Klaus to Clara Honsinger at this point is only 5 seconds. I think it looks like more than that based on some of the camera angles, but 5 seconds is absolutely surmountable. We've seen much bigger gaps than that come down in the closing laps of the previous races this weekend.
I think it is really yo-yoing back and forth a lot throughout these laps. It may have been 5 seconds when they hit the pavement, but I think at some points this has gone out to 8 or 9. Klaus had brought it down under 5 for sure a few times on that last lap. So it's just going back and forth as Katie Klaus and Clara Honsinger battle at the front of this elite women's race. But right now, Honsinger in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show how each of these riders have their strengths and weaknesses on this course. I mean, the amount of time that Katie Klaus has been able to make up on these technical sections is truly remarkable. Still no pit for Clara Honsinger.
You see a little mud on the down tube. I was trying to get a good look at the bike earlier, but it's not super caked up. And even with a pretty comfortable lead here, she's still deciding not to. And the strategy's working out so far for Clara Honsinger. Now this one, it's going to be way more than 5 seconds now for Katie Klaus. But again, Klaus has brought back that time before. She can do it again.
We're now heading into a section of course that Katie Klaus is very strong on. We just finished a lot of continuous pedaling, which really plays into Clara's hand. Katie Klaus now coming into view. They're going to be able to look over and see each other now.
A lot of parts on this course where it doubles back, and as long as you're within 10 seconds of the rider in front of you, you can keep a pretty good eye on them for most of the race. How far up the course is someone like Katie Klaus looking right now? I mean, how often is she monitoring Clara Honsinger, or is she just looking at the next feature, the next rut, the next corner?
I think that especially when the course is doubling back on itself, you have a pretty good idea. Even if you're not trying to look, you'll be able to see them pass in your periphery. So hopefully Katie Klaus is just focusing ahead. She's not looking over too much, or else you will, be at risk of a mistake. But, in theory, the idea is that you want to be looking a couple seconds ahead at all time.
Further back, more solo stragglers as this one continues to separate itself out with Natalie Quinn into 4th. Amelia Shea riding into 5th, a few seconds back, and then Jen Malik down to 6th with a little more than 10 seconds up to Amelia Shea. Klaus struggling a little bit. Got that front wheel just a little slowed up on the steps. Still faster than running it, though.
Yeah, and Klaus made Honsinger made really, really easy work of those steps that time. So that's one of the few advantages that it seemed like Katie Klaus had over Honsinger, but on that lap didn't play into her hand.
Back up to Honsinger. Again, Honsinger really going to thrive on these wide open sections where she can lay some power down. She's just been slowly building this lead over Katie Klaus. See if we see Klaus in this picture. There she is at the bottom. It's going to be closer to 10 seconds. Actually 13 to get to this corner. I don't know that there's much that Katie Klaus can do right now. Seems like the fate of Klaus is in the hands of Honsinger.
Yeah, this is one section that she's so strong on. But Clara, you can see that grimace on her face as she is just standing up and powering down on the pedals. She can sense weakness with Klaus, and she is not relenting.
Honsinger has not raced for a little over a month. Pan Am Champs were her last race. Took second there on the end of a domestic campaign that started with Trek Cup back in October. one of these sort of targeted schedules that we're seeing where riders are really focusing on quality over quantity when building their campaigns for 2023 and 24. And it seems like Honsinger has a few goals, but very strong goals.
Yeah, she's really not spreading herself too thin. She's not just showing up at any old race and seeing how it goes. When she shows up, she's showing up with winning in mind and all kind of moving towards her bigger goals of the season. So how will doing this race help me in the World Cups, in the championship races, and of course going into Worlds?
It seems like there's a time in each rider's career where it's good to get a lot of racing and it's good to go over to Europe, do these huge blocks, just race as much as you can and learn as much as you can. But after a while, once you start getting into contention, then it starts becoming, well, how can I target my training? How can I target my fitness for these races? And all of a sudden, it's not about just going to Europe as much as you can. It's about going to European races that suit you, races that work on your calendar, and races that help you get you to your season goals.
Exactly, yeah. And at this point, I mean, Clara Honsinger knows how to race. She doesn't need to go to these random races that aren't going to help her get better. Yeah, it's absolutely for her and other riders like her about quality over quantity. "28 minutes of quality riding so far for Honsinger. And she widens her gap over Katie Klaus in second. And Klaus has got to be getting frustrated here pretty soon. Look at the cadence on Honsinger here. Really spinning those legs, getting through some of that mud. She's standing up out of the saddle, absolutely hammering, trying to put as much time as she can in between herself and Klaus.
And she will now have the full length of this start-finish stretch ahead of Klaus. It was 5 seconds last time. Honsinger just did her fastest lap, a 9:30.
Wow.
To the 9:47 on lap 1, the 9:32 on lap 2, and just turned in a 9:30, fastest lap of the day. Klaus did a 9:44. 14 seconds slower that lap than Clara Honsinger. And that's going to bring that gap up to 19 seconds for Katie Klaus now. And then we'll be looking at Raylan Nuss next through. There's Klaus trying to fight her way back. Certainly putting in the effort. I mean, this is a big ride. But it's just that little bit that Honsinger has over Klaus here.
This is a really great ride for Katie Klaus. A little bit of an unknown quantity this year, coming back to cyclocross after a lot of focus on the road. Her first year in the elites. So, I mean, obviously so much potential for Katie Klaus, even in addition to the results that she's already had in her long, despite being young, career.
Raylan Nuss into third at 50 seconds down on Katie Klaus now. So Klaus really stuck in the middle of nowhere here. She's got 50 seconds behind her and another 19 in front of her.
But that is good news for Klaus in a sense, because she only has to worry about trying to catch Clara Honsinger. She doesn't have to worry about getting caught or losing the podium at this point. She's a minute and 10 ahead of fourth place, which means that she's very solidly in podium potential. So now she can really put a lot on the line in order to try to bring back first place.
So you're kicking a little mud out of the pedal or the shoe, looks like. She unclipped there, and just one quick little shake. That is one thing where the pit's not really going to help you unless it's stuck in the pedal. But I think more than likely it's probably stuck in the cleat of the shoe. So going into the pit, not going to change much there.
Yeah, and especially where it's not below freezing today, really not a lot that is going to happen with the pedals aside from a mechanical. There have been cyclocross races. I'm thinking of Madison, Wisconsin in, I believe, 2012 or 2013 when it was frozen in the pedals as well as the cleats were actually freezing. But out here today, it's probably just a little bit of a clog and something that you'll be able to resolve with a quick kick on your bike.
Remember last lap, we were watching Katie Klaus eyeing Hansinger as they went around this U-turn, but
great point of reference as to just how far that gap has gone out in the last lap.
Klaus just making it around now. She's going to lose sight of Hansinger on some pretty crucial sections of this course. Shout out to the guy wearing shorts out here today.
The Louisville fans have really astounded us all weekend with their lack of regard for the weather. If it's raining, if it's freezing, they're just happy to be here.
Go back a little further, try and pick up what should be third place, Raylan Nuss back through, but remember it's 50 seconds behind Katie Klaus at last check. There she is. Hansinger, back to the stairs. There's obviously a favored line up the right side of these stairs. We've seen a few riders able to do it up the other side, but given the choice, it seems like most riders picking their right side of the stairs here.
Yeah, so there's multiple parts of the stairs where it becomes so flat that you almost don't have to pick your wheel up, and there's certain sections where the two pieces of limestone will meet and basically create a little rut for you to be able to just kind of stick your tire in between. So makes it really smooth up there.
I think the mud has also contributed to sort of building some ramps, if you will.
It is, and that's why I was saying yesterday I was calling them basically a half set of stairs, not because of their length, but because of just how short the steps are. They don't even really register as steps, and we're seeing that at the front of the elite women's race that most of the riders are opting to ride rather than run those steps.
Hansinger still keeping the essentials in check, eyeing the corners ahead of her. Just all those little things that you have to keep on the top of your mind as a cross racer, even when you have a nice lead like this. It's still a game of finesse.
Yeah, she is not at the point yet where she can stop thinking about those things. I don't think that you would ever want to stop thinking about those things. At the end of the day, no gap is ever really big enough until you've crossed the finish line, but especially last time we checked, 19 seconds back to Katie Klaus. Looks like it's going to be a little bit more than that now, but that is only one big mistake away. She can afford to put her foot down or have to get off and run a section quickly, but she cannot afford a big crash at this point. And I'd actually say that the gap is about the exact same as it was last time. Katie Klaus coming onto the first part of the road with Clara Hansinger still in sight on that second section.
You talked about the mental mindset of Clara Hansinger at the front, but what about Katie Klaus? I mean, she's got to be going through the same thing, trying to focus on all these little things and the little techniques, but also looking at the bigger picture of, am I making up time, and sort of the race strategy of it.
Yeah, because Katie Klaus can't get so concerned with Clara Hansinger that she ends up losing the whole race for herself. But she is very talented. She's obviously very skilled technically, so if she focuses on her own process, I think that's going to yield a great result, regardless of whether that puts her on the top step or, really anywhere else in the race. If Katie Klaus goes out and she focuses on her process goals, she's going to have a great result.
What's going to take for Honsinger to pit today? I mean, what's she waiting for? What's the sort of line that you draw? When is the bike too muddy, or is that just personal preference? Like, is there an accepted sort of line that you step across so you just have to pit? Nuss goes into the pit again, Klaus goes into the pit just now. We just saw her come out. She took a fresh bike.
Yeah, so I think that goes to show that it is a lot about personal preference. So Honsinger may have a bike that she prefers a lot more. I know that she's new to Live Cycles and maybe has only gotten one bike more dialed or something like that, but it also, her bikes might not be feeling that heavy. At this point, she's only getting off and running, I believe, twice per lap, so she doesn't have to carry a super heavy bike or anything like that for very long. But Katie Klaus she could be adjusting her tire pressure, and she could also be trying to avoid a risk of mechanical, and that's really the biggest part of that preference, is whether or not mud is collecting in your drivetrain.
Well, Honsinger may be making a calculated decision here that it's not a threat worth worrying about. See how dry this section is. She's almost bouncing around out there on some of these sections that are starting to dry up a little bit. See what she does when she gets back onto the pavement. She has really been hitting it hard on the paved sections. I mean, that has been one place that we can see a significant effort from Claire Honsinger. So we'll see if she tries to add another few seconds to her lead onto the pavement here.
Yeah, Claire has such a great poker face. It can be really hard to tell just when she's actually pedaling as hard as she is, but when she is on this start finish, there's no denying that she is giving it everything right now, just trying to bring that gap out even further.
I think the strategy of her poker face is always look like you're working hard. She's got that grimace out there that we only see break a few times.
So I believe Honsinger now going out for one lap to go.
Klaus just coming through the line now.
So they will be getting the bell. One final shot for Katie Klaus to be able to bring back Claire Honsinger. The gap now at 26 seconds.
Honsinger slowing down, went from a 9:30 lap to a 9:37 that time through. Klaus did two 9:44s back to back. So consistent, if nothing else, for Katie Klaus here.
Yeah, so I guess it's okay if you slow down on a lap if the person in second slowed down as well, or at least didn't get any faster.
It'll be interesting to see Raylan Nuss's lap time here. So Honsinger with 26 seconds to play with over Katie Klaus here. But she wants to make it 27 seconds.
Yeah, it looked like someone was out there cheering for her, and she got a little boost, stood up and started hammering again.
Well, this is now Claire Honsinger's race to lose. This is where you shift into conservative riding mode, burn through some of those 26 seconds that you've saved up, give a second or two here or there to avoid any major issues or potential for major issues. So all Claire Honsinger's got to do right now is keep it upright. And remember, hasn't pitted the entire race. She hasn't been into the pit.
Her bike looks so clean, though.
That may also speak to her ability to choose the best lines, finding a way to get that bike into the places that it needs to be.
She's just winding it up now. You can see just how quickly she's pedaling past pit one. Less than half a lap to go. Less than one lap to go, rather. Looking a little further back, Raylan Nuss now 1:37 down on our leader, Claire Honsinger. She has been able to separate herself from Natalie Quinn, who's in 4th at 2 minutes and 7 seconds down, and then looking back to 5th, Amelia Shea at 2:34.
Honsinger looking to add her 3rd Elite National Championship. She won in the 2019-2020 season, and again last year in 22 to wear the Stars and Stripes this year, and looks like she will be flying those colors again next year.
She's just so composed. She's had a flawless race. Kind of like what we talked about with Lizzie Gonzalez earlier in our U23 women's race. It doesn't look like she's been pushed to her limit today. I think that she's riding well within herself, doing as much as needed.
I think we've just seen that switch flip, because she seems to be riding much calmer, much more conservatively now. There must have been some point on this course where she said, look, if I can make it to here with a 20-second lead over Katie Klaus, I'm good. I got this.
Yeah, I think that she'll maybe go a little bit more gingerly through some of these tech sections that are more likely to cause a crash, and then I think that she'll just be right back on the pedals as soon as we get to those hard pedaling sections. Lower risk, and also something that she just does so well.
Last time to the limestone steps for Honsinger. Crowd gathering for one last look. She's going to take that favored line. Amazing how much faster that is to be able to stay on the bike, as opposed to the riders that had to remount up at the top. They lost significant time up there.
Yeah, the remount itself was actually very slow. I don't know if it was much faster to ride versus run, but the remount was losing people so much time.
I'm not sure that Honsinger has been running that section previously. She has, all right. Meanwhile, Klaus up and over.
Regardless of the result, this is such a great ride for Katie Klaus. She's young. This is her first year elite, and she has really put Claire Honsinger under some pressure, and she's kept this race really close.
You got to remember, this was Clara Honsinger just a few years ago in Katie Klaus's position, a junior national champion who turned U23 racer, who then gets the first crack at the elites. Doesn't go great the first year, but eventually you figure it out. And before you know it, you're on to your 3rd national championship.
One of the last tricky sections for Honsinger on course now. She's been able to navigate this seamlessly so far. And even if she doesn't, Katie Klaus is just coming into view now. She has a lot of room to work with at this point.
Still out of the saddle.
She likes going hard. That's something that's one of the most dangerous things about Claire Honsinger, is that she likes to go hard. She likes when the racing is brutal, when it's nasty, when the conditions are terrible. That is when she comes alive. So that's the thing, as they say, when you find out that you're fighting with an engineer, when you're arguing with an engineer and halfway through you're losing and the engineer likes it. That's how it is with Claire Honsinger. The worse it gets, the happier she is. So yeah, no matter that she has 26 seconds over Katie Klaus, she's like, no, I just want to go harder. I want to win by more.
And now the fans starting to make their way back to the finishing pavement to welcome the return champ back. She did it in 2019 in Washington for her first one. in 2021 in Chicago for her second, and last year in Hartford, Connecticut.
And now she gets to write the cheesy Instagram caption, "3-peat."
Both riders at the front of this race away from home. Honsinger out of the Pacific Northwest and Klaus out of Salt Lake City, Utah. We heard some of the riders earlier today talk about the impact of having friends and family on site and being able to cheer for you. So it really wasn't since we were in Tacoma at Fort Steilacoom Park that Honsinger would have had the hometown advantage, and I don't know that Katie Klaus has ever really had that opportunity.
No, certainly not. But the thing with Clara Honsinger is that when you are two-time national champion, people are already cheering for you. You don't have to have the home court advantage anymore to have a lot of love and energy on the course. So you can see as she's riding by people now, they are applauding her, they're cheering for her. So I think she's going to feel the love wherever she goes at this point.
And now back onto the pavement, a familiar sight for American cyclocross fans as Clara Honsinger once again enters the pavement to claim another Stars and Stripes jersey. This year back with Team S&M, high fives all around. Your 2023 national champ, Clara Honsinger, will have another year in Stars and Stripes. A repeat victory at the top of the race, but now we sort out second, third, fourth, and fifth as we await the arrival of Katie Klaus, who should be safe for a silver medal up next. Here's Klaus, high fives all around. Great ride today for Katie Klaus. As we said, it's going to get better. She will get stronger, and the future is bright.
It certainly is. First year elite Katie Klaus. She's going to be able to give a big hug to Clara Honsinger. Both of those riders, phenomenal ride out there today. I hope they're both able to be really happy with that performance. Now the big question of the day is who will come out in 3, 4, and 5 at the close of lap 4. Raylan Nuss only had a 5-second advantage, I believe. I'm sorry, I misread that. I think that she did have a pretty solid advantage, but the big question is going to be who takes 4 and 5 and in what order.
It's amazing how much this race separated, considering how many close races we had yesterday and even earlier today. This is really the first runaway victory that we've seen in a while here from Honsinger. Here's Nuss onto the pavement. This will be good for a bronze medal for Raylan, and that means 2 medals for the Steve Tilford Foundation Racing Team, taking second and third. Nice to see a smile on her face.
Yeah, tough day out there for Raylan after a tough season, but I think she can be really proud of her effort.
Be looking for Natalie Quinn up next. More congratulations for the champ. I think this will be Quinn onto the pavement right now.
That looks like the blue of Fort Lewis College for Natalie Quinn. This is also her elite debut.
Talk to me about what that jump is like going from the U23 National Championship to the Elite National Championship. I mean, how big of a difference is it?
Yeah, it's a pretty big difference. When I made the jump, I was racing against the likes of Katie Compton. Need I say more? You know, so it can be really brutal. I mean, Clara Honsinger as an elite has been 4th at the Cyclocross World Championships. So to be someone like Natalie Quinn, who's suddenly competing against paid professionals who are competing full time, that's a very, very steep jump.
Malik through the line for 7th. This will be Brenna Rye-Simpson. Team S&M CX through the line for 8th on the day. Let's see, 9 and 10 through here in just a bit. Should be a nice gap between them as well. As again, this course really making some separation out there today. What does this tell us for the elite men coming up after this as we await the arrival of 9 and 10? Is it just get to the front, hit it hard, do the Clara Honsinger?
If you can, if you have the means, I would highly recommend it.
All right, well, we're going to see as we get ready for our next race of the day. Elite men coming up. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll try and grab a word with Clara Honsinger when we come back, and then our final race of the day, the elite men, coming up after this.
Look at that. And that. And those. And wait, where do we get something to eat? Where do we sleep? Where are we gonna hang out? Oh, now we're talking. How about that? And that is everything you ever wanted in a weekend getaway. Plus everything else you'd ever want to. Louisville, Bourbon City.
Team with a river in the middle. Take me to my hometown. My hometown is your hometown. It's got a gold dome, heard the picking on the fiddle.
The watt bike is always consistent. It has the same measurements, so you're guaranteed to get the same fit every time. Like every time I get on a watt bike, I trust that it's going to be an accurate reading and like I can really rely on the results.
Welcome back. Joe Creason Park, home of the 2023 USA Cycling Cyclocross National Championships, where we have just wrapped up our elite women's race, where we watched Claire Honsinger repeat on the line for another Stars and Stripes jersey. Joining us in the booth now, Claire, congratulations. How's it feel? How does this one compare to your other national championship wins, now that you got a few under your belt?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of like first there was first, second, and then third was like a special number, and trying to get that fourth, like, putting it together was where the pieces even. There was so much pressure going into this race.
Talk about how this season, your lead up to nationals, compared. Anything different this year? Like, did anything change in 2023?
Significantly. This year I went back to school to finish my undergraduate degree. So I was finishing up my last classes this week, and I have a final next week, as well as it was a really incredibly challenging past week. My boyfriend's father passed on Wednesday, and so I honestly hadn't ridden my bike in like 4 days. It was just like I could barely, like, I'd get out and I just felt so exhausted, and even the thought of like going to nationals took a moment to kind of get my brain into. But I have such a fantastic team both at home and here, and they really helped me like get into the zone, like be conscious of what was going on, but keep my focus on the successes we could gain.
Were you able to channel that today? I'm sure that went through your mind a few times while you were out there.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking about it. My boyfriend couldn't make it here, and just feeling like both the support we give to each other, it being a little bit different this year, but I could feel it every lap out there.
Certainly a high note in what could be a low time for
Yeah.
you two, but I'm sure this will be nice to bring home. What is next for you? What do you do after this? Where do you go from here?
So instead of going straight over this year, I wanted to like keep it kind of steady this season, finish up my school, actually graduate. And so on Christmas, we'll be going over to Europe, and we'll be racing pretty steadily. And my goal is to make, well, I guess I've qualified for the World Championship team.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Your insight on the course here as we get ready for our elite men's race. Any advice you would give to the guys?
Yeah, it's definitely, when we first were pre-riding, there's a lot of green grass still that you could kind of hook the outsides of lines, but that's disappearing, like even for me with the first
I saw
lap
that
to
early
the
in your
final.
riding on the outside a lot.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised where it's going, and so I guess starting to commit to the ruts that are forming because they're getting pretty steady and fast out there.
All right, we'll see. Claire, congratulations. We will let you get back, get cleaned up and warmed up. How's the temperature out there? Is it cold? Arm warmers for you? Leg warmers? What was your setup? I forget.
It was definitely a bit chillier than the past few days, but once you get out there, you get hot.
All right. Well, congratulations, and I can't think of a better person to be flying the Stars and Stripes for the United States for our next coming season.
Too kind.
Claire Honsinger, your repeat national champion, making it 4 for the United States. Congratulations, Claire.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, we'll go back out to our pro men's race next up. They're inside of 2 minutes to their race start. The guys getting their call up into the grid, and we'll watch as the front row takes their spots.
Excellent.
All right, jackets are off, and riders about to get the 1 minute warning here. Ellen, let's talk about some of the favorites on the front row here. Of course, we start with the returning champ, Curtis White, looking to repeat here in Louisville, but he has a strong, strong front row beside him.
That he absolutely does. Scott Funston, former champion in the under-23, Eric Brunner, former elite champion, Andrew Strohmeyer, last year's under-23 national champion in his elite debut, Caleb Swartz, he has been consistently there. Gosh, Drew Dillman and Lance Haydette, who had an incredible performance in the single speed, and now they are off.
White finding his way to the front with the green bike there. In fact, I think he's going to get the whole shot as some riders go down. Couple wheels back, few riders getting tangled up in there. I think that might have been a CXD jersey. Dylan McNeil maybe getting to the front for a whole shot. And meanwhile, riders at the back still trying to figure out how to get out of that pileup that happened just coming off of the pavement and onto the dirt. That's going to end the day for a few riders, I think.
It's a pretty tough crash for those riders. Look like everyone is sitting up, but really tough cards to be dealt at the start of this race.
Yeah, there are still some riders on the pavement at the line here. See if we can go back and take a look and figure out just what happened there. It's like the second or third row back. Looks like one rider just goes down and then causes a chain reaction as some riders try to move across the road to maybe set up for that last turn. A few riders going down behind them. But looks like everybody is up and moving. They are escorting those riders off of the pavement right now. Meanwhile, to the front, Eric Brunner has moved up to take the lead.
Strohmeyer
going to move into second here. That'll be Gage Hecht in the human-powered health kit behind him. And then Curtis White, your defending champ, into fifth spot back there.
Gage is a rider that we haven't talked about a lot today. He was not on the front row of this race. I would say that Gage is simultaneously the dark horse and one of the odds-on favorites. He is a former elite cyclocross national champion, but we haven't seen very much from him so far this season. He was taking a break from cyclocross to focus on road racing, but now is kind of coming back to his roots. So we don't know what to expect from him, but we know that he's capable of a phenomenal ride there today.
Kerry Werner tacked onto the back of that one. He's going to have a shot. And now you see Gage Hecht moving up. He'll go into third here. Curtis White just tacked onto the back. I'm not sure if that's where he wants to be here, but still plenty of racing to go. White, well-versed in this scenario, so I don't think he's panicking quite yet, but I also don't think fifth place is where Curtis White wants to be right now.
No, especially not with, I would say, his number one rival, Eric Brunner, on the front. He does not want to be 4 wheels back from Eric Brunner at this point.
Rest of the group coming through. You can see some riders losing it on this loose mud, just a little bit too much speed being carried in. These guys are still fighting on the front. They're trying to get around Scott Funston.
I think it was
Brunner,
Andrew Strohmeyer that was finally able to take an inside line on that corner.
Oh, chaos up here. Big changes happening as they come out of that section. Hecht loses a spot here. That's Werner into 6th place now onto the back of that group. We'll add him to the list of riders in here. Look at this battle in 1, 2, and 3 going on up here. These guys trading blows every turn.
You know, Brad, we were talking off air that this could be an incredible battle with at least 3 or 4 riders duking it out at the front, and so far that is exactly what's happening. Now Scott Funston making a quick pass on his teammate Eric Brunner to try to stay with Andrew Strohmeyer.
Strohmeyer going to lead him onto the stairs. He should be able to ride this. I would think Brunner and Funston can do it too. Strohmeyer going to choose that left line as everyone else goes right. That lost him a few seconds. Brunner gets the outside line. Funston going to try and come around. Then a little gap back to Gage Hecht, then Curtis White, then Kerry Werner.
Lane Meyer now racing for the Jam Fun NCC, making his way up. He is returning to cyclocross for the first time in 3 years.
Nice. Dillman rides the stairs. Few riders able to find the opportunity to do that.
Maybe to their benefit and maybe to their detriment.
Meanwhile, at the front, this has turned into a 3-rider race. Some big separation happening here from what was a group of 6. They have now split it, and Curtis White is not a part of the split.
That's a tough scenario for defending champion Curtis White. Good news for Eric Brunner. I'm sure he is going to be thrilled if the person who bested him last year is no longer represented in that lead group. But Curtis White not that far back. He's currently sitting 4th wheel, and he still has these leaders well within his sights.
He's going to go Brunner, Strohmeyer, Funston in that order. Werner and Hecht battling for 5th as Curtis White rides his way back up to this group. Some different lines being taken here. Riders looking for any advantage they can get. Runners staying on the gas up here. Now a little gap off for Funston. The CXD fan club out in full force supporting Strohmeyer here. And Brunner going to go in. He'll be the only guy that takes a bike here. So that'll take him off the front. Looks like he's going to slot into third. That's good news for Curtis White because now he's got Eric Brunner where he wants him.
60 minutes of racing for our elite men on tap. It's a lot of racing, Brad. A lot can happen.
Yeah, if this group of four stays together for 60 minutes, I will be shocked if it finishes like this because there's just so much that can happen in the next 54 minutes, 53 minutes at this point. That, there will be mistakes and there will be separations. It's just a matter of where you are when those happen.
Exactly. The first lap of a 60-minute race, basically the hors d'oeuvres, the appetizers in a 10-course meal. Look at the crowds. Louisville has really come out in full force. One of the benefits of having such a centrally located cyclocross nationals. So many big cities nearby.
Well, Louisville has been a tremendous host for many years for national championships, world championships, both a Masters Cyclocross World Championship and an Elite Cyclocross World Championship hosted here, along with a few national championships, both for cyclocross and road.
Strohmeyer goes to the front now, starts turning the screws.
Nice. Little gap back to Brunner and White. Strohmeyer and Funston could do some damage here. Onto the pavement. Let's see how this one shakes out. Back onto the dirt. Strohmeyer looking back. Yeah, see, he wants to shake these guys off the wheel. He's tape to tape. He's trying to keep Eric Brunner off. Kerry Warner's going to be in a tough spot here. He is stuck all by himself, trying to catch on to the back of that group. He got rid of Gage Hecht. They were riding together for a while. Hecht is now gone off of Warner's wheel. But Kerry Warner locking into 5th place on course right now. These are your 4 leaders. Now let's see if things calm down this lap. Remember last time, every single turn, these guys were jockeying for positions, trying to get to the front. But now that the group has sort of established as these 4 guys, well, Curtis White's going to answer that question right now. He wants to get to the front. White takes over very quickly, goes from 4 to 1.
That's how you do it. When you make a pass, you can't think twice. You just have to go to the front, put the power down. This is the first time that we have seen Curtis White in the lead of the national championships, hoping to defend his title that he won in a dramatic and emotional fashion in Hartford last year.
I think Curtis White realizes that your chances of getting caught behind something increase exponentially with the number of riders in front of you. And with 3 guys ahead, that's a pretty good chance that you'll get caught behind something. Brunner trying to pass Funston here. He can't get around. And then Strohmeyer on defense now after riding at the front of this group of 4. See how Funston moves over here, kind of opens that line up a little bit. Also setting up for this left-hander. See if any gaps form on the flyover.
This race is completely strung out, as we've learned from criterium racing. The straighter the line it is of bike racers, you can tell the harder they are going. It's when it's super bunched up and everyone's riding in a big blob that the pace is probably not super fast. But Curtis White has gone to the front, and he's meaning business.
This is really all you can do, I think, as the defending champ with the target on your back. I mean, what else are you going to do? Sit back and wait for these guys to take it to you?
At this point, it almost feels like it's 3 versus 1. Of course, we do have 2 teammates represented in the lead group, but all 3 of these riders, Funston, Brunner, and Strohmeyer, they all want to beat the current national champion.
Funston looking for a line. White takes a look over, sees that green jersey of Scott Funston moving past. He'll move into the lead. How about Kerry Warner hanging on here? He's going to be in this conversation pretty soon.
Oh, you cannot count Kerry Warner out. Speaking of an unknown quantity, as we were talking about with Gage Hecht, only 3 cyclocross races so far this season for Kerry Warner. The NCGP just a couple weeks ago, and then single speed nationals earlier this week. So he has really good intel about how this course rides, how it races, how to win on this course. But yeah, I mean, this is a long race, and Kerry he's older than a lot of these kids at the front of the race, and he also just has such a diesel power that it looks like he's actually just a moment away from making contact with the back of this group. So I think that this party about the front is about to have a 5th.
Yeah, he's going to be in this group sooner rather than later. This is another rider who has kind of split the time, doing some gravel racing, doing some cyclocross racing, the modern rider, I guess, a 2023 pro.
He is, and he really embodies that 2023 pro. He's on YouTube. He makes the content. You know, he's just so fun to watch. He's also Sherman's dad, a very adorable beagle that is often seen wearing fluffy jackets. You gotta love Kerry Warner.
All 5 of these guys just skipped the dollar bill hand up that was stuck in the run-up.
I guess, you know, pro cycling must be so high paying that these guys don't need to take the tips when they're offered.
This Warner's got his YouTube monetized.
Yeah.
Still trading blows at the front here. Here's Brunner going to try and make a move. He runs out of real estate. He wants to go again. Brunner really wants to get around Curtis White here.
I think Curtis knows that too. Just moved over almost imperceptibly to the left, but he's like, you know what? I don't really want to leave that lane open anymore. Meanwhile, Kerry Warner in 5th is like, how about you guys just keep worrying about each other? Don't mind me. I'm just gonna sneak over back here. Oh, small dab from Curtis. He should be able to close that, but that is going to make Eric Brunner even more antsy than he already is.
Brunner's doing a good job of attempting the passing. He's looking like 2 corners ahead. We saw this in U23 men's race where Zacharczyk tried to make the pass at the very end, but he didn't have the room to go. You could have seen that from 2 corners away, but Brunner is making his move only in places where he thinks he's going to have a legitimate shot at passing. So he's playing chess here. He's looking a few moves ahead, a few corners ahead, to make sure that he's not getting pinched into a corner where Curtis White would be able to shut the door. You talked about his ability to kind of just imperceptibly move over, as you said. And see, here's Brunner going to go again.
Yeah, see, that was a great spot for Brunner to try and move up. When he was making those other passes, he was wasting a lot of energy trying to get by Curtis, but not succeeding. So it's really good that Eric was finally able to get by on kind of a straight section, because otherwise you just waste a lot of time kind of getting caught up in petty moves, is what I always called it when I was racing.
Do you get alarmed when you're in a group of 4 and you're the only person pitting? Does that make you start to think, am I doing something wrong here?
No, I think you have to trust your process. You have to trust your strategy. It's when you start changing what you're doing just because someone else is doing it, because just because no one else is doing it doesn't mean that it's right.
Look at Brunner effortlessly floating to the front here, realizing that he's got Curtis White gapped off a little bit. There's no better time to hit it on the front for Eric Brunner right now than when you've got Curtis White just a few bike lengths back. Make him fight to get back into the group.
All of the lead men opting to run the barriers. The barriers today so tall. Not encouraging to hop at all, and definitely not worth the risk. Strohmeyer takes the lead after getting shouldered off his bike.
Bodied.
How did he? That's what they call landing on your feet or falling up.
Oh, man, we got to go back and take a look at that as contact made in the corner. Strohmeyer gets thrown off the line and then somehow gets up. It gets back to leading the race.
I thought that Andrew Strohmeyer's race was over. I was speechless. I'm so relieved that he was able to get back up, and that wasn't how his day ended.
Oh, this racing is unbelievable right now with these four guys. Watch this. It's into this corner. Tries to take the inside. Bam from Brunner.
God. That's a football-level tackle, but somehow he gets up and goes ahead of Eric Brunner with a little, sportsman-like sweep of that front wheel. Rubbing's racing, right?
Back up to the front, and Funston looking over at Strohmeyer, going, where did you come from?
I thought you were gone. I thought my teammate eliminated you a couple corners ago. How are you back on the front? Putting down attacks.
And I wonder what that looked like from ground level, because from the drone, it sure looked rough.
That was a full-blown contact hockey-style check.
Oh, Brunner said, stay out of my line. I think he was definitely cutting off the line, that's for sure. He was on the inside. Brunner was holding the line. And now Eric Brunner going to do it again. This guy.
Strohmeyer said, heard, chef.
Yeah. See if Strohmeyer gives them a little sauce next time they find themselves in a corner together.
I think once you start racing with contact, it's hard to go back. You're like, all right, well, if we're doing this, we are going to do it. Brunner turning the screws now. Looks like Funston struggling to go with him. Strohmeyer's
like, get back here. Hey.
He's like, hey, we are not done beating up on each other right now. Oh, little slip from Brunner. He got really lucky not to go down there. That could have been painful.
Oh, White's going to get up here. I think Curtis White is finding himself in some bigger battles than he thought against riders like Strohmeyer. Funston has been throwing some blows as well. But Brunner really seems to be in charge of this group. I mean, every time he's had an opportunity, he has just rocketed to the front of the group and taken over, really showing some muscle here.
Really throwing his muscle around as well.
In a few ways, more ways than one. See who pits here. White going to skip it this time. And now some bigger gaps opening up in this group. These guys were riding wheel to wheel in this group of four, but Brunner has succeeded in really starting to break this one up.
I think this front group is starting to feel crowded. I think Eric was content to ride for 2 laps with being able to stay at the front, etc. But as soon as Strohmeyer started trying to come on the inside of that corner and then swept his front wheel after he stood up, I think Eric is starting to maybe get a little antsy and is hoping to shed at least one person from this group. Of course, I'm sure he'd like to shed all 3 riders from this group, but you got to start somewhere.
Down goes Brunner.
Wow.
Brunner, and with a mechanical, he has a drivetrain issue. He's looking at the rear derailleur here. He's going to run it. I think that bike is, he's back on. Can he ride? That's it for Brunner. Oh, no. Brunner still having trouble. That derailleur is hanging down. I think that drivetrain is toast. Yeah, he's back up and rolling. I thought I saw the derailleur hanging, but he must have been able to get it back onto the rear cassette. So
he might have had the clutch engaged and forgot to disengage it. So we're only about 25% of the way, maybe 30% of the way.
He's stuck in a gear here. He can't shift. He's in too big of a gear.
They're not very close to the pit. They really just went by pit 1 not that long ago.
Well, Brunner with a little slip up that turns into a mechanical that now turns into a major race shakeup.
It is going to take a miracle for Eric Brunner to be able to come back. And I can show you 3 people that are on screen right now that could not be happier.
Wow. This race just dramatically changed with the elimination of Brunner from this front group. Strohmeyer once again rides the stairs. White taking a new line. He went across the stairs. Sort of a paperboy approach.
It may not have been intentional. Sometimes you just have to keep going straight in whatever direction your bike happens to be pointing.
Kerry Warner hanging in there.
Strohmeyer looking really strong at the front of this race.
Gapping Funston, who gaps White. Curtis White in a little bit of trouble here. This is not the ride that White wants to have. Question is, can these guys at the front do this for another 40 minutes? 22:30 elapsed racing time so far. The foot down for Strohmeyer.
For Curtis, he was able to ride that just a little smoother.
It's amazing how this racing dynamic has changed with the elimination of Brunner from this group. 3 guys racing together is a lot different than 4. So there's Warner. I still don't see Brunner anywhere.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Scott Funston making contact a little bit with Strohmeyer, but he was able to get back up pretty quickly. Man, this is a high contact sport today at the front of the Elite Men's National Championships. We're not always treated to so much physical and aggressive racing, but I think it's something that if you're all kind of agreeing to do it, then throw the gloves down.
Signaling to the pit, I think, for Funston. Strohmeyer wants a look at it.
Strohmeyer looks so strong today. The question is whether he can maintain it for the next 40 minutes, but gosh, he looks really, really vibrant early on in this race.
Oh! Tight pit boxes together as Strohmeyer passes Funston to get to his pit box, cuts Funston off.
Almost loses his bike, almost cartwheels in the process.
That's racing, baby. And now Funston trying to hold on to Strohmeyer's wheel.
Brad, what are we watching? I've never seen any racing like this.
Strohmeyer came equipped with his shoulder pads today.
He really did. He's like, I heard that the elite racing was aggressive, so I'm going to instigate it.
Well, Strohmeyer has now gotten rid of what looks to be maybe 2 riders because Curtis White still hasn't been able to get into this one.
You know, I'm hoping for Curtis White's sake that he's kind of just sitting back, letting these 2 bump into each other, cut each other off, you know, keep those elbows sharp. He's going to sit back and kind of relax a little bit and not get caught up in any of, you know, the young kids' drama.
Well, that would explain why Kerry Warner is riding back there. He's even more experienced.
Curtis's nickname is the Mayor. And, you know, I think that he's probably thinking, guys, let's be professional. Let's just keep being polite, diplomatic, civil. And these 2 kids are like, heck no, old man.
White back in contact with the back of the group. Really interesting to see the different riding styles, too. This is a well-mannered, conservative, professional, experienced pro in Curtis White riding against two kids who are going absolutely wild on the front of this bike race. Funston going on the attack here. This is what I'm talking about. Catches Strohmeyer off guard. He's like, no time for that, Jill.
So I'll get that later.
And yeah, Curtis White just sitting back. See, he had the momentum there. He could have gone past if he wanted. White is definitely sitting in third. Strohmeyer going to go. Oh, beautiful.
Nice to see a pass without a bit of physical contact in it as well.
Well, these guys can't help it. There's only so many rideable lines, and oftentimes those lines will intersect eventually on this course. Well, certainly from a blow-for-blow perspective, this is one of the best elite men's races we've seen in a long time. After a snowy race in Hartford last year, much different conditions this year, and that is creating some really interesting racing here. Oh, down goes White, little struggle there. He misses the top step.
These stairs are starting to become more and more treacherous. They've played a factor in most of our races so far today. Now Strohmeyer's at the front. He's just giving it so much energy right now.
So now Strohmeyer and Funston get another big gap on Curtis White here.
This is definitely the biggest gap that they have had over Curtis White so far in this race.
We'll get a Kerry Warner update here and see if White has anyone coming up behind him on his 6.
So Brad, Eric Brunner was only 15 seconds down at the close of lap 3. He might still be able to bring back at least a couple of these riders. It's going to take a lot for him to get back to the front of this race, but all things considered, he has not lost that much time. He's only 4 seconds down on Kerry Warner.
Yeah, if White keeps going backwards, he may have a shot at a podium here. If White, Warner, and Brunner end up in a battle for third, that is our best case scenario as cycling fans. A 2-up battle at the front for 1 and 2, and then a 3-up battle behind them for third. Strohmeyer dips the front wheel a little bit here. Different lines as well. Strohmeyer on the inside and Funston taking that outside line. Little gap here. Looking for sections on this course where the time is being made up and lost, like who is dominating on these different sections. It seems like the race has really been won and lost just in straight up corners. I mean, it's really been where these passes have been made in some of the tight corners, riders taking inside lines and just squeezing through a lot of these.
Yeah, Andrew Strohmeyer is so proficient technically. He looks so comfortable on this course.
I think now that the power element of Brunner has been taken out of the equation, it creates a much more technical matchup between these two. Here's Strohmeyer dropping down. Picked up another second on Funston.
Coming into one of the most decisive sections on course, these limestone steps. Riders who are able to have been riding up the steep part up and over the steps, but they are really tricky. It's easy to get off your rhythm. Strohmeyer rode that so well. Funston might have struggled with it a little bit. He didn't come out of that section with nearly as much speed.
White has now passed, or I'm sorry, Brunner has now passed Kerry Warner, I think. So I think White, Warner, and Brunner are all going to come together here pretty soon. We'll go back and take a look at that as Strohmeyer pushes his bike to the top here. So See, now this tells me that Strohmeyer has Funston on the ropes, because Funston had been battling Strohmeyer so closely. He wouldn't let him have an inch getting away, but now seeing Strohmeyer with this gap tells me that this is not optional. This is not a choice by Funston at all.
No, I don't think that this is strategic. I don't think it's like what we were talking about potentially with Curtis White that we were speculating. He may have been giving them some space. Funston did not want to let Strohmeyer get, like you said, even a bike length away from him. So it's going to take a good bit of effort from Strohmeyer to be able to bring him back.
Yeah.
Sorry, from Funston to be able to bring Strohmeyer back.
And then look at this. Brunner has now caught White and gone past him. That's Eric Brunner in the white jersey, just in the center of the screen, with Curtis White right behind him. So now Brunner has moved back into third after that terrible mechanical, trying to get his drivetrain back up. He has now caught and passed Curtis White to put White into fourth, as Kerry Warner just plugging along back there in fifth.
Wow, I cannot believe that effort from Eric Brunner in order to bring multiple places back. He has made up so much time on this course.
And now an equidistant gap between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. Looking a little further back, I think that's Dillman in the orange and yellow.
Yeah, I believe so.
Skipping the pit here for Strohmeyer. When you're in a tear like this, you do not want to interrupt this momentum. Great shot here from up above. Really gives you a good idea of what these gaps look like. Remember, this was a 4-rider peloton, a breakaway, if you will, riding together, and now we're seeing 4, 5, 6 second gaps in between all 4 of them. Strohmeyer getting low. Look at this.
He's really channeling some bravery here. Summoning all of that power. And it looks like Eric Brunner is reeling Scott Funston back in. Brad, I cannot believe the effort that Eric has been able to achieve so far. I mean, he has closed down this gap. I thought that his day was over.
Well, he certainly made the catch much quicker than I think anyone thought we would see Brunner again, but he is back into third. He has now caught Scott Funston, and that is Brunner in white there, just behind the light blue jersey of Funston. And Curtis White struggling here. He couldn't hold that group of 2. White going solo into 4th spot.
Kerry Warner just behind him. So we have 5 riders, all pretty evenly spaced out right now. Of course, some variance in there, but yeah, 5 riders all within maybe 15 seconds of each other out on course.
Look at Strohmeyer continuing to send it out of the saddle. Boom. Biggest gap of the day so far for these guys.
Strohmeyer back on the pavement and back on the pedals. He is standing up. He's giving it everything that he has right now. He knows that Eric Brunner is suddenly back in the conversation. I do not think that he wants Eric to even come close to him. And look at the way that Eric caught Scott Funston.
Brunner is riding on another level today.
He's going a completely different speed than the other riders around him.
Well, if there's ever a time to wonder what if, this is it right here. Meanwhile, watching some riders in the pits on some of the other cameras, a few riders getting tied up.
Looked like an issue for Lane Maher of the Jam Fund. Hopefully he's okay.
Back to Strohmeyer on the front, continuing to widen his lead.
Eight seconds now separates Eric Brunner to Andrew Strohmeyer.
We talked about how this race has changed after that Brunner separation on lap number 3. Listen to the lap times for Andrew Strohmeyer. 8:35, 8:35, and 8:35. Then once he gets rid of Brunner, he goes 8:23. So as those guys are all locked together, they're doing perfect 8:35 laps. Everyone in that group of 5 all has those 8:35 lap times in there until the Brunner incident where Strohmeyer stepped on the gas and took it down to 8:23.
Then if you look at Eric Brunner's lap times, the lap where he had his mechanical, he did an 8:50, followed by an 8:16. That's 7 seconds faster than any other lap on course.
New fastest lap of the day for Eric Brunner, coming back from his mechanical. Now, if he can keep that up and do another 8:16, that might be enough to get him up there to Strohmeyer. Brunner going to skip the pit here as he is now into second position. If there's ever a place for Brunner to make up time, it's right here.
Wow. I did not have my money on the injured horse, so to speak, in this cyclocross derby. I cannot believe
Brunner's going to be there.
How much Eric has come back from that gap.
2 minutes, this guy will be on the wheel. And he's not going to spend much time there. I have a feeling once this catch is made, Brunner tries to go right past Strohmeyer.
Yeah, and realistically, that is his best bet strategically. You just need to really assert your dominance. I think that it's really, really hard psychologically to be caught and then immediately passed. I think that that's Eric's best bet here for the victory.
And remember, these two have a long checkered past over the last 37 minutes here in Louisville. The last time they met in a corner, Strohmeyer found himself on the ground and then at the front of the race after getting a taste of Eric Brunner's shoulder. Now the question is, does Brunner sit on here and try to get rid of Funston? I don't think Brunner knows how to sit on. I'm not sure that's in his repertoire.
Yeah, and then watching the speed at which he passed Scott Funston on that start-finish straight, I don't think he needs to worry about sitting on. And this race is back together. Officially, Eric Brunner back together with Andrew Strohmeyer.
Again, Brunner is going to look for that perfect opportunity to make the pass. Swing, swing big.
And he found a great section for it going into these stairs. Oh, but Strohmeyer is not going to give up that easily. He's going to give one last shot.
Brunner wants it here. He goes to the outside and he'll take it. New leader on course. Back from the mechanical for Eric Brunner and back to the front of the bike race.
Brad, no matter what the result today, there is no doubt that Eric Brunner is the strongest rider here.
Cannot wait to see what this lap time registers as. And now Brunner gaps Strohmeyer. Strohmeyer head down. And this is a big problem because now Brunner has open daylight. He's obviously feeling fine. He's recovered from whatever that issue was. And once you let that horse out to pasture, it's hard to bring him back to the barn.
Strohmeyer still fighting, though. He knows that if he loses Eric Brunner's wheel right now, then he is immediately at risk of getting caught by Scott Funston.
Meanwhile, Curtis White continuing to struggle in fourth position. He has failed to gain any time since we last saw them, and then Kerry Warner's still sitting in fifth spot. Look at the gap Brunner's opened. Another 2 seconds over Strohmeyer.
Kerry Warner is kind of being our pacer out there today. He has done he did 8:43 opening lap, then an 8:36, an 8:36, and then an 8:34. So I think he's like our, you know, the pacers that they have at the marathons.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the 5Ks. He's our 8:34 pacer.
Brunner skips the pit. Strohmeyer's going to go in. Let's see what Funston does. Out of the saddle here on the pavement. Again, this is where he shines. Brunner is a power rider through and through. He's obviously got the technical ability. I mean, we saw the way that he manhandled some of those corners early on, but really his strategy here is just ride stronger than everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with how strong Eric Brunner is, it doesn't even really matter how good you are technically. The way, the speed that he's going on some of these sections, it's like he's riding a different course than his competitors.
Looking a little further back on our top 10, top 15. I'm seeing some names starting to move up that were involved in that early crash, guys that were at the back of this race on lap number 1, and now into lap number 4. I see names like Caleb Swartz, who has moved up into 11th spot. Pretty impressive for having been at the very back of the race when they first left the pavement onto the dirt. Strohmeyer is gone as Brunner continues to put time into this. It's going to take a freight train to stop Eric Brunner today.
I mean, even a mechanical didn't stop Eric Brunner today. Yeah, I think it would take, I mean, I don't know what it would take because, yeah, nothing has been able to stop him so far. He came here with a mission. He already has the Pan American jersey. Now he wants the American jersey.
Brunner looking to add to his collection on the front here. Meanwhile, Strohmeyer and Funston through the line. Strohmeyer still a few seconds ahead of Funston as they see 2 laps to go on the counter coming through the line right now.
7 seconds is the gap from Eric Brunner to Andrew Strohmeyer. And then 11 seconds back is Scott Funston. So 4 seconds separating Strohmeyer and Funston.
You got to remember, Brunner on just this lap went from 8 seconds down to 6 seconds ahead. Warner at 32 seconds back from Eric Brunner. Not bad, all things considered.
Yeah.
But you also have to remember that Eric Brunner at one point was 10 seconds behind Kerry Warner when he was dealing with his mechanical.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're dealing with someone who's kind of in a league of their own at this point, you have to maybe look at how close you were to other riders around you. You know, it's when I was racing, it was always the second rider behind Katie Compton.
Brunner flying into a lot of these corners. He certainly not riding any more cautiously after that mechanical. It did not change his riding style in any way.
He's like, nah, like lightning never strikes the same place twice.
Dab for Strohmeyer. Just some preventative maintenance. Brunner skips the pit again, as does Strohmeyer.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Eric Brunner also can't start riding conservatively because his gap just is not big enough. I mean, there's only 11 seconds between him, Strohmeyer, and Funston. So at this point, he's still in that gap accumulation point. This is a 2 mistake or 1 really big mistake sized gap, Brad.
So there's 2 feet down or 1 drivetrain, we'll call it. So Brunner keeps that inside foot out of the pedal just in case he needs it.
But then watch. Okay, I hope that we can see this happen again sometime. He's pedaling with his left leg while his right leg is out of the pedal, you know, kind of outriggering there, which I think that's pro.
The little things in the technique that make a great bike racer.
We've said it before, I'll say it again. Cyclocross is a game of inches, so when you can get a couple more pedal strokes in while still maintaining your balance, that makes all the difference.
I'm going to coast down here. There's the foot out again. It's a perfect course for Eric Brunner as well. If this rain would have come through a little bit later, it was a little bit muddier, I think this would be a different conversation because guys like Strohmeyer are really good mudders, really technical riders. But this course is allowing Eric Brunner to lay down that trademark Brunner power that we've come to know him for, and you really couldn't ask for a better course for Eric Brunner than what he got here in Louisville.
Yeah, I mean, this is a course designed for him, but oh my gosh, look at how quickly Strohmeyer just rode those stairs.
Strohmeyer might be starting to reach a little deeper into his bag of tricks, trying some stuff that he maybe wouldn't have tried on lap 1, but when you're desperate, start making bigger moves. Strohmeyer dismounts. He's got a problem. Couldn't make that run up. And now we'll see if they can close down that gap.
I don't want to speak too soon, Brad, but it almost looks like he is starting to bring back that gap just a little bit. I think now that we're inside of 2 laps to go, Andrew Strohmeyer is really pushing all of his chips in. I think that he's willing to risk it all. I mean, a silver medal at your first Elite National Championships would be great, but I think that he's willing to sacrifice all of that, to risk all of that for the win. As I said, at the end of, I believe it was the Elite Women's race, you have to be willing to, it was the U23 men, you have to be willing to lose the race to win it. And it looks like Andrew Strohmeyer is putting his entire podium at risk in an attempt to bring back Eric Brunner.
Yeah, I don't think Strohmeyer cares about second place here. No. He would gladly give up second place for the chance at Brunner one more time. So Strohmeyer starting to get loose out there, but sometimes this is the most fun racing to watch. Strohmeyer's definitely a guy who knows how to have fun on the bike. I mean, he's not afraid to rail some corners. He's not afraid to get loose out there on the bike and have some fun.
Yeah, he's such a great rider. He's such a great rider to watch technically. And it's especially fun now that he's starting to take some more risks. He's really trying to put some separation as well into Scott Funston. Of course, he wants to bring back Eric Brunner. And look at that power now as they go across, parallel to pit 2. I'm worried that he's going to pit, but so is Eric Brunner, so I think they should be okay. I don't want him to lose any of his advantage. And actually, now that he's going to be bringing back Eric Brunner a little bit, I think because he isn't going into the pit, and suddenly this gap is as small as we've seen it in the last several laps.
I think that was the right call. That was the right thing to do. No matter how bad Strohmeyer needed a bike there, you have to skip that pit because you have to keep this gap within striking distance. The problem is now, though, Strohmeyer has to deal with a little heavier bike as Brunner's got a clean new machine underneath him.
You know, I mean, Clara Honsinger did the entire Elite Women's race without a fresh bike. I don't think that the bikes are super heavy right now. It may be more, you know, risk conservation than anything to be pitting. So I think that Strohmeyer is going to be hopefully all right without getting a new bike. You know, Strohmeyer, he said, I may not be able to bring Eric back, but I promise I'm at least going to make it interesting.
Again, Funston still hanging into third, White into fourth, Warner behind them into fifth. Crowd starting to get behind Strohmeyer a little bit. They like a good underdog here in Louisville. This is going to take him down to 1 lap to go. So now Andrew Strohmeyer has 1 lap to try to catch on to Eric Brunner, who is mounting one of the most amazing comebacks in Cyclocross National Championship history here.
This gap now between Eric Brunner and Andrew Strohmeyer is only 3 seconds. Brad, on a course like this, that is absolutely nothing. That is a 1 mistake gap that we have here at this point between Eric Brunner, former elite men's national champion, and Andrew Strohmeyer, last year's under-23 national champion, making his jump into the elite field this year.
Meanwhile, gaps continue to go out. Some good battles in 7th, 8th, 9th place. You see some of those gaps on the scoring board on the left-hand side of the screen. Strohmeyer seems like he's just almost getting there. He can just see Brunner, and then Brunner takes the gap back out. I think that also speaks to this course design. It's a good mix of technical and then power, and then technical and then power, technical, power. Big power section right here that Brunner's taking advantage of.
Yes. So much at stake here now. Both of these riders are going to have to dig deep within themselves to find the last bit of energy and suffering that they're capable of. I mean, what a ride by both of these men. Eric Brunner coming back from a massive mechanical, huge deficit in time to be able to come back into the lead, but Andrew Strohmeyer never said die. He's been able to slowly pull back time on Eric Brunner over the course of the last couple laps.
Strohmeyer coming off of his U23 national championship and now riding with the big boys and making a pretty good debut here.
I would say so.
Gap going back out. This is going to be it for Brunner here. I think he is putting in the winning watts. Yeah, see that? There's the pedal that you're talking about, pedaling the left foot as he keeps the right foot down. Just the view from the drone. I mean, you can see the speed on Eric Brunner in a way that we haven't seen all day today.
No, he's going so fast. It's kind of hard to believe.
Clara talked about the disappearing green grass on the edge of the course. Remember, there are a few lines where she was kind of taking that outside line, but some of those lines have been completely burned out and taken away as everyone else kind of took advantage of that, I think, early on in this elite men's race and certainly for the remainder of that elite women's race.
Now they're going into a section that is super chewed up. This section has been the source of a lot of discussion so far. And this is part of where Andrew Strohmeyer was able to make up some time on Eric Brunner on that last lap.
That's not going to be enough here. As Brunner has given himself a nice pad to work with, headed into the last lap. Back to the stairs one more time. A little slower this time for Brunner. But look at the snap off the top of the stairs. Whatever time he lost right there to Strohmeyer, he made up with those 8 pedal strokes coming off the top step.
Absolutely. So, so powerful out there today.
And then Scott Funston, who has been quietly plugging away in third, maintaining his spot over Curtis White, who has been mostly out of the picture today as the defending champ finds himself on the wrong side of this chaos at the front of this bike race, with Eric Brunner putting on a comeback clinic today.
You know, we talked earlier about Kerry Warner's consistency, but actually the most consistent rider of the day award absolutely goes to Scott Funston. His lap time so far, 8:35, 8:35, 8:34, 8:32,
wow.
8:33, and an 8:34.
Wow. Well, I guess that gives Brunner the least consistent rider of the day award, at least if you look at the lap times.
He has an 8:50 and an 8:16.
Back up onto the pavement. Brunner will have one more of these little drop downs. See how he avoids that burned in line right there. There's a serious rut forming on the inside of that, and Brunner just stays out of it. You don't have to commit to it if you're never in it in the first place.
Yes.
Well, we knew Brunner would be a factor today, but I don't think anyone predicted that it would be this big of a factor.
No, I mean, the deficit that he had to come back from is so remarkable. I thought that he was completely out of contention with that mechanical. I don't think anyone could have predicted that he would come back and now be leading on the last lap of our final race of the weekend.
Just goes to show you, never give up,
Yep.
never surrender. It's never over. This guy really embodying the fighting spirit of cyclocross, because, again, in this sport, it's not a question of if something will go wrong, it's when and what will go wrong in your cyclocross race. And it's the way that you deal with those things that makes a great cyclocross racer. So Strohmeyer shouldn't have anything to worry about behind him. I don't think Funston's going to be a threat. Funston seems to be pretty safe from White. And I think White, last time we saw him, had gapped off Kerry Warner, but we'll get another look at them and see if Warner was able to bring anything back. Meanwhile, fans cheering Brunner on in his final few turns before hitting the pavement here in Louisville. Yeah, and now once you get into this fan area, once they start lining the fence here, that's usually a sign that you are almost there, and they are getting behind Eric Brunner on the way to the finish here.
Not many corners left. All of the most technical and tricky corners are behind him, so he is on the home straight. Really just this big lollipop left, and then it's time to celebrate.
Well, what a ride it was today for Eric Brunner. A comeback for the history books today as Brunner comes back from the mechanical, gets back to the front, and dominates here in Louisville. Your winner in Joe Creason Park with stars and stripes next year for Eric Brunner. And what a show between Brunner and Strohmeyer today. Strohmeyer going to have a silver medal in his elite racing debut. Looking forward to many battles to come between these three riders. I'll put Scott Funston on that list as well because he had a great ride today into third.
Yeah, what a great day of racing. What an incredibly exciting elite men's race we were treated to. And then a sprint to the line from our former national champion, Curtis White, followed so closely by Kerry Warner. We have multiple generations of professional cyclocross at the front of this race right now, and I think the future is very, very bright.
It was a great ride for Kerry Warner as well. He can be proud of that result for a rider who is not solely focused on cyclocross the way that a lot of these guys have, to be able to balance fatherhood with Sherman and content creation on YouTube and gravel racing and cyclocross. Pretty great ride for Kerry Warner today.
I think Sherman will be very, very proud of him.
Rest of our top 10 rolling in as Eric Brunner gets the jacket on. And a little congratulations from Kerry Warner there. Meanwhile, rest of our top 10 still rolling in. Shows you just how strong this battle was on the front today. That these gaps got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger inside the top 10.
That's going to be Lance Haydet coming across the line.
Nice. Haydet made the pass on Dillman on that last lap, as he was able to move up one spot. So Haydet going to lock in 6th place. Drew Dillman across the line for 7th. We'll see if Gage Hecht held on to his 8th place spot. He was pretty close to Dylan McNeil last time we saw him, but this is Hecht onto the pavement alone.
Great to see Gage Hecht back between the tape and the sport of cyclocross.
All right, so Hecht will be good across the line for 8th, with Dylan McNeil should be through in 9th, and then Brian Matter and Caleb Swartz going to duke it out for the top 10. So that will wrap up our elite men's race today as Eric Brunner rides his way to victory for a Stars and Stripes jersey. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll try and grab a word with our new elite men's national champion.
Look at that. And that. And those. And wait, where do we get something to eat? Where do we sleep? Where are we gonna hang out? Oh, now we're talking. How about that? And that is everything you ever wanted in a weekend getaway. Plus everything else you'd ever want to. Louisville, Bourbon City.
Team and a river in the middle. Take me to my hometown. My hometown is your hometown. It's got a gold dome, heard the picking on the fiddle.
The watt bike is always consistent. It has the same measurements, so you're guaranteed to get the same fit every time. Like every time I get on a watt bike, I trust that it's going to be an accurate reading and like I can really rely on the results.
Welcome back. Live images from Joe Creason Park, where we are watching Eric Brunner get his escort up to our TV booth, where we're going to grab a word with our new national champion. To the victor go the spoils, and a golf cart ride to the TV compound is included in that, Ellen.
It was awesome to see his hand poking out of the golf cart. He's getting a ton of high fives. Now the trees that we get to see the golf cart try to navigate this pretty steep, slippery hill. I mean, that could be enjoyable all on its own. Wow.
How about Snowy Mountain photography?
Sketching a ride. Oh my gosh, and he's wiggling all over the place.
Well, Louisville continues to give the action here as we watch Brunner make his way up to us. I'd say well-deserved for Eric Brunner to get some time off of his feet after what we saw today.
Is it faster? Probably not. Is it way cooler? Absolutely.
Certainly easier than walking or riding up here. Still a few riders out on course finishing up, but for the most part, our top 10 in and done. But the action today really was at the front of this one as Brunner, Funston, White, Strohmeyer, and I'll put Kerry Werner on that list as well. Really put in the work today and put on a show for us, that's for sure. Had a lot of great racing here in Louisville. Something about this course really it gave this week,
really
that's for sure.
We were not lacking for action, drama, excitement, and fun out there this weekend, Brad.
A wide variety of conditions this weekend, too. We went to everything from sunny and 55 to rainy and 40 to what we have today, which is just sort of wet and damp and, dare I even say, a little chilly. Again, Louisville, legendary for American cyclocross fans. This would be a city that they know well. And now, as the final riders roll in, we are being joined in the booth by Eric Brunner, our new Elite Men's National Champion. How's that sound, Eric?
Sounds pretty good. I'm proud to do it again here.
And what an insane battle for you guys on the front today. You had the most hot and cold day out there. Take me through what was going through your head. First of all, what happened with the mechanical?
Well, I actually had a couple. I ran into Strohmeyer after the barriers. He came inside me, and I tried to give him a hard time and ran into him, and I thought it was okay, but he ended up hitting my derailleur, and it went into crash mode. So I was stuck in the biggest gear for a couple corners. That was okay. That wasn't a big deal. And then I was just back to fourth wheel, which was okay. But then about a lap later, I went down, and the same exact thing happened. I don't think I've ever had that happen twice in a race. I mean, let alone more than like once in a season. And so then I really thought my race was over there on, I think, lap 3. And I was just riding in the biggest gear for a minute there, just on my own. Kerry passed me, so I was back into 6th, and it was just, all right, start going on my own.
Was there a point where you realized during that comeback, like, I can do this? Because it sounds like it was in your mind that I can't do this. When did it shift to this is possible?
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't know. I just wanted to keep trying, honestly. I think once I was able to get my derailleur moving again, which I just had to shift all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, that helps.
I just clicked the button a bunch of times, and I kind of hit it with my hand a little bit. And after that, I started going, and I saw that they only had maybe 20 seconds on me. So I thought it wasn't too long that I was out of hope.
Eric, let me see your mic real quick. I think we might have lost your mic here. I don't know if I can hear you. Actually, I'll give you Ellen's headset here. I lost battery here. I want to ask about your finish, because I saw what looked like an emotional salute for you on the finish line. What was going through your mind when you threw those hands up crossing the line today?
I was pretty surprised to win, and I was also just thinking of Magnus today. I want to do this one for him.
Yeah, I would imagine that went through a lot of riders' minds. Certainly this week in the build-up to it. Was it tough being here without Magnus?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty unbelievable still. Think about him a lot this season, and yeah, just thinking of his family today, and we miss him.
The memory certainly lives on here. What is next for you? When you leave Louisville, where do you go, and what does the next month look like?
I will take a little break now, spend some time at home with family, train, and then I'll head over to Europe mid-January to race the last couple of World Cups, Benidorm and Hoogerheide, and then the World Championships.
Did you let yourself think about what it might be like to wear the Stars and Stripes jersey in Europe?
Well, I still am wearing the Pan American champion jersey, which is good and bad. I love the Stars and Stripes too, but proud to have it even if I'm not showing it.
Well, a worthy champion out there today. I think on behalf of all American cross fans, thank you for an incredible show today. It was amazing watching your comeback. An inspiring ride today for Eric Brunner, your new national champion. Eric, congratulations, man. Can't think of a better guy to be wearing the Stars and Stripes, or at least owning the Stars and Stripes heading into the next year. Congrats.
Thank you.
All right, well, that will do it for us here from Louisville. Congratulations to all of our new and returning national champions. On behalf of Ellen Noble here in the booth, my name is Brad Soner saying thanks for watching. And a big thank you to our incredible crew here in Louisville, the staff and volunteers that have made this happen. Of course, everyone at the Louisville Sports Commission helping to bring the national championships. And USA Cycling, our host here for the 2023 USA Cycling Cyclocross National Championships. So from Joe Creason Park, thank you for watching. And congratulations to all the USA Cycling national champions. We'll see you next year.